Radio is an intimate storytelling medium, and when it bonds with one of the finest storytellers of our times, the result is sheer magic. During these times of social distancing, All India Radio hopes to bring you some comfort, some connection, with an exclusive story reading series, Bonding over the Radio. Coming up is the pick of the day, voiced by the author Ruskin Bond himself.
I've got a story which is not a ghost story, but it's like a bit of fantasy, you know. Actually, it was done as a short 20-minute film a couple of years back. It's called The Black Cat. It's about me, actually. The Black Cat. Before the cat came, of course, there had to be a broomstick. In the bazaar of one of our hill stations is an old junk shop, dirty, dingy and dark, in which I often potter about looking for old books or Victorian bric-a-brac. Sometimes one comes across useful household items, but I don't usually notice these. I was, however, attracted by an old but well-preserved broom standing in a corner of the shop. A long-handled broom was just what I needed. I had no servant to sweep out the rooms of my cottage, and I did not enjoy bending over double when using the common short-handed jaru. The old broom was priced at 10 rupees. I haggled with the shopkeeper and got it for 5. It was a strong broom, full of character, and I used it to good effect almost every morning. And there this story might have ended, or would never have begun, if I had not found the large black cat sitting on the garden wall. The black cat had bright yellow eyes, and it gave me a long, penetrating look, as though it was summing up my possibilities as an exploitable human. Though it meowed once or twice, I paid no attention. I did not care much for cats, but when I went indoors, I found that the cat had followed and had begun scratching at the pantry door. It must be hungry, I thought, and I gave it some milk. The cat lapped up the milk, purring deeply all the while, then sprang up on a cupboard and made itself comfortable. Well, for several days there was no getting rid of that cat. It seemed completely at home and merely tolerated my presence in the house. It was more interested in my broom than in me, and would dance and skittle around the broom whenever I was sweeping the rooms. And when the broom was resting against the wall, the cat would sidle up to it, rubbing itself against the handle and purring loudly. A cat and a broomstick. The combination was suggestive, full of possibilities. The cottage was old, almost 100 years old, and I wondered about the kind of tenants it might have had during these long years. I had only been in it for a year, and though it stood alone in the midst of a forest of Himalayan oaks, I had never encountered any ghosts or spirits. Miss Bellows came to see me in the middle of July. I heard the tapping of a walking stick on the rocky path outside the cottage, a tapping which stopped near the gate. "Mr. Bond," called an imperious voice, "are you at home?" I had been doing some gardening and looked up to find an elderly, straight-backed Englishwoman peering at me over the gate. "Good evening," I said, dropping my hoe. "I believe you have my cat," said Miss Bellows. Though I had not met the lady before, I knew her by name and reputation. She was the oldest resident in the hill station. "I do have a cat," I said, "though it's probably more correct to say that the cat has me. If it's yours, you're welcome to it. Why don't you come in while I look for her?" Miss Bellows stepped in. She wore a rather old-fashioned black dress, and her ancient but strong walnut stick had 2 or 3 curves in it and a knob instead of a handle. She made herself comfortable in an armchair while I went in search of the cat. But the cat was on one of her mysterious absences, and though I called for her in my most persuasive manner, she did not respond. I knew she was probably quite near, but cats are like that, perverse, obstinate creatures. When finally I returned to the sitting room, there was the cat, curled up on Miss Bellow's lap. "Well, you've got her, I see. Would you like to have some tea before you go?" "No, thank you," said Miss Bellows. "I don't drink tea." Something stronger, perhaps? A little brandy?" She looked up at me rather sharply, and disconcerted, I hastened to add, "Not that I drink much, you know. I keep a little in the house for emergencies. It helps ward off colds and things. It's particularly good for colds," I finished lamely. "I see your kettle's boiling," she said. "Can I have some hot water?" "Hot water? Certainly." I was a little puzzled, but I did not want to antagonize Miss Bellows at our first meeting. "Thank you, and a glass." She took the glass, and I went to get the kettle. From the pocket of her voluminous dress, she extracted 2 small packets, similar to those containing chemist's powders. Opening both packets, she poured first a purple powder and then a crimson powder into the glass. Nothing happened. "Now the water, please," she said. "It's boiling hot." "Never mind." I poured boiling water into her glass, and there was a terrific fizzing and bubbling as the frothy stuff rose to the rim. It gave off a horrible stench. The potion was so hot that I thought it would crack the glass. But before this could happen, Miss Bellows put it to her lips and strained the contents. "I think I'll be going now," she said, putting the glass down and smacking her lips. The cat, tail in the air, voiced its agreement. Said Miss Bellows, "I'm much obliged to you, young man." "Don't mention it," I said humbly. "Always at your service." She gave me her thin, bony hand and held mine in an icy grip. I saw Miss Bellows and the black cat to the gate and returned pensively to my sitting room. Living alone was beginning to tell on my nerves and imagination. I made a half-hearted attempt to laugh at my fancies, but the laugh stuck in my throat. I couldn't help noticing that my broom, was missing from its corner. I dashed out of the cottage and looked up and down the path. There was no one to be seen. In the gathering darkness, I could hear Miss Bellows' laughter, followed by a snatch of song. With the darkness round me growing, and the moon behind my hat, you will soon have trouble knowing which is which and which is cat. Something whirred overhead like a Diwali rocket. I looked up and saw them silhouetted against the rising moon. Miss Bellows and her cat were riding away on my broomstick. Tom Alter, he acted as me, and they got an actress in Bombay who did the old lady, and they had a cat, a very clever cat, who acted in the film. It was shown at some of these festivals, children's festivals. So it's not a full-length commercial film. So it was quite funny. And it was the last thing Tom Alter did before he died, poor chap.
Who directed the film?
I forget the name. It's a young Assamese chap. It was his first film. And he showed it at a couple of film festivals. And I think it's been available online too. I didn't charge him anything for the story because it was first attempt. and it came off quite well. It's quite popular, I believe. I believe in Bombay there's some people who train cats, or rather animals in general, to work in films. Cats and dogs and things like that. So it was an acting cat. I stole the film actually.
Now I have to tell you that after the first 2 episodes, feedback and responses are pouring in from our listeners.
Oh, that's good to know.
Your fans old and new.
Yeah,
And I'd like to share what a 12-year-old from Chennai is writing through possibly her family elder's handle. Her name is Janavi. Mr. Kaushik Srinivasan is writing, listen to the amazing story about the ostrich today. I love Ruskin Bond. Posting my daughter's message. This is the first time I'm hearing the radio in my life, only for this. Can you please ask him to narrate the story, Monkey Trouble, from the book Crazy Times with Uncle Ken? Please, thank you. I'm Janavi, age 12 from Chennai.
Janavi, thank you for your message, and I'll certainly read Monkey Trouble one of these days. It's a little longer than some of the others, but we'll fit it in. I'd love to read Monkey Trouble because there were so many crazy animals that my great crazy grandfather.
Ananya Agarwal is writing, it is my dream to meet him since the day I got to know he meets people. I remember I was 12 and my first reaction was, wow, Ruskin Bond meets people for free? Such was my enthusiasm. I am 18 now and pursuing my career in literature, and my dream hasn't yet come true. It will be a great favor if you can please ask him when will he be available to meet and take an autograph. After this whole pandemic situation gets over, I'd go to Mussoorie as soon as I can.
Yes. Well, of course you can meet me, and of course it will be free. I enjoy meeting young people and school children, and so many of you I know want to become writers. But if you want to meet me, you have to give me some advance warning. I may not be here because I do go out sometimes. So you write to me and get in touch and let me know when you're going to be here. So then we can fix up a meeting.
That was storyteller par excellence, Ruskin Bond, reading his hand-picked story of the day in our exclusive series, Bonding over the Radio. Ruskin Bond needs no introduction. Much loved by generations for his enduring and inspiring writing, he is an iconic and prolific literateur, honoured with the Padma Bhushan and Sahitya Akademi Awards. Some of his works that have been adapted for film and television series include Junoon, Susanna's 7 Husbands, Saat Khoon Maaf, The Blue Umbrella, and Ek Tha Rusty. A presentation of the Central English Features Unit. This came to you from the External Services Division of All India Radio.